Hello and welcome back to another installment of what people have written about ENFJ types and the extroverted feeling function. My name is Doris. I'm a type and relationship coach, and today we're continuing with the Introduction to Type series of booklets, in particular Introduction to Type and Communication by Donna Dunning. These booklets always give you a few pages of what is type and how can you find your preferences in the beginning, and then this particular one is also giving you information about communication by dominant function. And now I'm going to read you the 2 pages she has written in the form of bullet points for the ENFJ type. She describes them as insightful contributors, communicate and operate. That is the headline, and then the subheading is 2 heads are better than 1. Communication highlights: warm, compassionate, enthusiastic, insightful, and encouraging. I think I agree with all of those. Imagine new options and possibilities for helping people realize and reach their potential. Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's a reason why I became a coach. Combine vision, strategic planning, task orientation, and focus on other people's needs. Yes, strategic planning, I think I could definitely use some help with because I'm not sure I'm doing that right. Focus on other people's needs, yes. Task orientation, probably as well. What comes to mind there is the homeworks that I like to give people. Responsibly organize and coordinate resources toward a goal. I don't know how that is in communication. Ensure that the means justify the end in terms of employee motivation and morale. Right. The Introduction to Type series is very much corporate oriented, so there might be a lot of work stuff in here. Ensure that the means justify the end in terms of employee motivation and morale. An example for that would probably be, we wouldn't do anything just to get ahead. The way I understand it, it's not that the end justifies the means. We want to do things right and respectfully. We wouldn't be rude in order to get to a goal. At first glance, sincere, sociable, friendly, expressive, open, and supportive. Yeah, that sounds good. Collaborative and cooperative, seek consensus and harmony. Yes. Ideally, harmony. Yes. Consensus. Yeah. If it doesn't take too long. Potential and development of people is their first and foremost focus. Absolutely. Enjoy leading others, organizing projects, mobilizing people. Yes, we do. One of the projects I'm leading now is a webinar series called the Psychological Type Community for the Association of Psychological Type International. We have 4 webinars this year about type and relationships. I guess that can be a project that I enjoy. Achieve results by harnessing unique contributions of each team member. I can't speak to that because I haven't led a team in a corporate sense. I have led teams in a volunteering situation for the Toastmasters organization and the APTI when I was president of the DFW chapter. And I think we had great results there. I don't know if that was necessarily because I was at the helm of those teams or because they were well-oiled machines and everybody knew what they were supposed to be doing. So it's hard to tell because it was a volunteer situation as well. It's not like I had any real power of telling people what to do. What they want to hear. Discussions about and sharing of personal values and ideas. Yes. Vision and possibilities for people, focused on growth and development. Yes. Positive and nurturing comments, empathy, tolerance, and harmony. Yes. That brings to mind a memory. One of the first jobs I wanted to have when I was still thinking about I have to have a job in corporate, I wanted to work in the human resources department responsible for expat relocations. I wanted to make sure that the people who come to work in the different country were fully supported. And then since I didn't go into corporate, I did come around and do a cross-cultural training side. So I ended up supporting expats, but from the trainer perspective, not from the corporate HR perspective. Opportunities for everyone to collaborate, contribute, and use their skills. Yes. Others taking time and energy to develop and maintain relationships. Also, yes. So the opportunities for everyone to contribute, I think it is very important that because you spend so much time at work, ideally you have a job that you enjoy. You don't want to go in dreading every Monday morning. Ideally you have a job that you like to do, that makes use of your skills and that challenges you a little bit. I can feel myself going into this idealist way of thinking when the reality of the patriarchy and capitalism is probably very different. Maybe there's still something we can do about that though. When expressing themselves, often guide others by mentoring, advocating, counseling, and teaching. Kind of what I just did, I think. Tuned into individual differences, value diversity, and accommodate needs. Yeah, whenever I can. Communicate, establish rapport, and connect with a broad range of people. Absolutely. Express their values and opinions, clarify perspectives, and build agreement. If the people are inclined to agree, absolutely. And if not, then disagreeing respectfully is also okay. Discuss theories and abstract ideas and concepts. Expect others to contribute. I like a good discussion about a theory or a concept. That's true. Giving and receiving feedback. Discuss theories and abstract ideas and concepts. Expect others to contribute. I like discussing a concept and an idea, and I would expect others to contribute. This is again the work thing, but here for the videos that I make, I would love it if you could comment. My God, yeah, I would. I don't expect you to contribute, but I would so appreciate it, and it would make my day. Please contribute. That'd be great. Giving and receiving feedback, like others to affirm their opinions and validate them as a person. Yep. And that's the thing, even if you don't like my opinion, don't drag me through the sand. Actively support other team members with words and actions. I think I used to do that. Openly value and appreciate others and expect support themselves. Sure. Can take criticism personally and become hurt. Very likely, especially while I was younger. And still today, if you make it sound like there's something wrong with my person, then yes, I will be hurt. If you are able to make it sound like there's just something wrong with the thing that I did, then that's a different story. Energetically guide others and encourage them to make good decisions. If I'm thinking about that, again, in a work context, not so much, but if I'm thinking about family members or friends that I talk to, energetically as in the vibes that I give out, or with lots of energy. I'm not sure what is meant here. I'm understanding it to mean the vibes that I give out. I think I encourage people in my surroundings to do what they feel is best for them without hurting anybody else. Interpersonal focus, want to build strong teams and create a harmonious environment. Yep. Affected by unpleasant working relationships, atmosphere, and morale. Yep. Sensitive to personal issues, explore and want to understand interpersonal conflicts. Yep. Will focus on and deal with conflict, stress, or strain on people involved in projects. Yes. Seek harmony, may spend more time than others on interpersonal issues. I'm trying to think of, do I have any examples? The last office environment I was in was my co-working space in Brooklyn called Friends Work Here. I loved it so much and I miss it every day. And the thing is, there wasn't a lot of unpleasantness happening there because they were all independent, or we collaborated, some of us, but they were all independent people just being really thoughtful humans. So shout out to Tina and friends. That was such a great space. Okay. Communicating effectively with ENFJs. Do provide general guidelines and trust them to make personal judgments and decisions. Yeah, we don't like a micromanager. Share human and social behavior theory. Use metaphors and figurative language. Love a metaphor. Advocate for employee development and growth. Yep. Be cooperative and collaborative. Seek consensus. Sure. Develop rapport and build a personal working relationship. Yeah, that's always helpful. Like, don't just be a boss and give orders. Make and follow through with personal decisions to improve or enrich people's lives. Absolutely, don't just talk about it. Be positive and encouraging as well as task focused. Sure, because we do like to get things done. Seek, plan for, and embrace change. Share inspirational stories and messages. Oh yeah, an inspirational story is good. Like, it can't be too soppy though. It has to still feel realistic. Share your values and appreciation for the perspectives and values of others. Seek to understand, celebrate, and accommodate diversity. Yes. Now, don't wield position, power, or threaten. Be focused more on results than people. Yeah, that is a pet peeve of mine. Like when it only becomes about the bottom line and raising share prices and this whole fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders, that really kind of gets under my skin, because people are people and they should be your first concern. Don't use logical analysis on values issues. Right, that's another thing, because I understand that a thinking mind is looking for logical analysis, but if you are talking about what is important to people, then by definition, people are not objects and logic can only take you so far. Don't be critical or overly objective when people are involved. Same thing. Don't set limiting and confining rules and procedures, right? If you tell me what you want, you're gonna have to let me figure out how to get there. Don't disregard social norms and conventions. Don't be cold, indifferent, or impersonal. Don't see only short-term or immediate results, because we do like to think, how is this also going to work the day after tomorrow? Don't be directive or controlling towards others. Yeah, it's one of those things. People with ENFJ preferences in general tend to stand up for the underdog, and if we see you picking on someone, then there's a good chance that we might call that out. Don't hold back personal information that might help them understand you. This goes back to the establish rapport and build a personal working relationship. Like, there needs to be some sort of, okay, we are both human, we are both people. The Brits have this thing where you go drinking after work with your colleagues, go to the pub and hang out and see one another in a kind of, private environment. That definitely helps. It doesn't mean there is not going to be respect for the bosses in the morning. Can we all agree that we're all people? Okay, last but not least, communication tips for the ENFJ. Other people may approach situations in a calm, logical, and/or practical way. High levels of enthusiasm, emotion, or passion may overwhelm or disconcert them. You may need to tone down your enthusiasm in these situations. I can see that in other people's eyes when I am steamrolling them. Usually I am quite good at calling it out and saying, I'm sorry, I'm just getting really excited about this. Your desire to help others and achieve goals can lead you to become overcommitted and overwhelmed with projects. Learn to balance idealism with practicality and create realistic expectations of yourself and others. Okay, that is something, again, in midlife, it's becoming a lot easier to do that. Present information in a sequential and logical order and show pros and cons, then anticipate and prepare for questions and feedback. That's a good tip and something I should be doing more intentionally, because I tend to go into negotiations or conversations with just a whole body state feeling of, I know broadly what's going to happen, but then I get fuzzy on the details. So knowing the details ahead of time is actually a good tip, especially when talking with somebody who has sensing preferences. Remember that others may not prefer metaphors or other forms of abstract language. Explain your thoughts in practical language and avoid using too many inspirational stories. Others may not be able to make the links and connections. That's something I have experienced where I think the connection is obvious and it isn't. I only say the first two steps and then assume the person's brain works like mine and they will also arrive at the third step without having to mention it. This read between the lines thing. So yeah, good tip. I think this is very much on the intuiting, sensing dichotomy. Be a little more practical, tactical, applicable. Be careful not to personalize the corrective feedback you get from others. Consider it a helpful tool for growth and development. That is something that is difficult, but also, yes, feedback is a gift. People are telling you because they're trying to help you get better. And that can be very difficult to take on. But as an ENFJ, I also care very deeply about growth and development. So receiving feedback is a tool for that growth and development. Might be uncomfortable, but it's helpful nonetheless. It may not always be practical, realistic, or necessary to solve all interpersonal conflicts in the workplace. You need to learn to leave some issues alone and to choose carefully what issues you work on. That's also a good tip, and definitely applies not just in the workplace, also to family members and to friends. Like, you're probably the one who knows the beef that is going on between other people, and you can just listen to them and you don't have to fix it. It's fine. It's their lives. They get to make their own choices. And this is the last point. Be willing to make compromises when looking for effective ways to complete tasks. Balance the need for people with business deadlines, logistics, and financial pressures. Be sure not to compromise your core values, but make sure you are being realistic. Compromises are one of those things. They have to make sense. This is probably the most difficult one, because compromises are just a challenge. I think compromises are challenging for everyone, because I feel that the human element is the most important and that everything else should be subjugated to it. But in a business setting, I can theoretically understand that cash flow and logistics and financial pressures also play a role, and without the business, the person wouldn't have a job and all those things. But yeah, not compromising the core value and making sure you're being realistic. That's the balance. I think that's going to come with a lot of practice. So this was Introduction to Type and Communication by Donna Dunning. If you like this video, you're going to enjoy this next one as well. I'll see you there.